Hi, everybody. We are here hanging out together. I'm here with Doc Heather today, and we have just reconnected after so many years. We're going to talk about how we made this moment come to pass and all the things that created it. And I just wanted to just share some time with her. And I know she's going to be asking me some questions and connecting with some of the new things that I'm doing. But I'm just grateful to be here today. How about you?
Oh, absolutely. Always excited to sit down with you. We've been having some good energy sessions, so definitely.
Yes, we have. So, let's see, how did we first meet? Because we always want to talk about, well, who we are and how we met kind of leads us into who we are, right? Like,
Absolutely. So
mhm.
I was going to say, if you don't mind, I'll take over and kind of just interview you, kind of ask you some questions if you don't mind. Listen, we're both used to asking questions, right, in our line of business. And that's what I would love to talk about, just how our evolution, right? Our transitions.
Yeah.
It seems like we're in a transitional spot again. I know I definitely am. And so when we say we met, I don't want to share how long ago it was, but it was significant time.
Come on, let's
I
share
mean,
it.
if you desire, go ahead.
25 years ago.
How many?
It's been at least 25 years because it
Oh
was
my,
2000 when I went to med school. So it was 1999 when we met.
it absolutely was. And what an amazing song, right? That's a artist that has that song out. It was like it's 1999. I did not, you know what? I did not realize that. Seeing that I am regaining my youth, wow, it has been 25 years. Maybe
Yeah.
almost. Okay. Wow. Wow. So yeah, that was a beautiful thing. We met in Indianapolis, Indiana, and
Hmm.
you know, I don't even know if you want to speak on where you came from, what your journey was, but we were both there,
Yeah.
seeking to become medical doctors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
I
that was a
mean,
part of our journey.
exactly, it was. And, looking back on it, the relationships we made because we went there in the Masters of Science and Medical Science program, the MSMS program, and we were
Yes.
all on our way to med school and was taking a little bit of a different route to get there. Everybody had a different reason for being in that program. For me, it was my MCAT scores. They weren't
Okay.
the highest that they could have been. And so I needed to just kind of get them back up. But I think a lot of it too was just transition for me because my
Hmm.
father had just passed away in
Wow.
1996. And going straight to med school is like it was a lot. And I
Huh.
think my brain just needed some time to figure out how to do this thing. I knew I could do the work, but it was just a matter of getting that standardized test score up. So that's how I ended up there. And we had a really good group. I mean, I think
We
some of the relationships we made, have been amazing.
Honestly, it's something because it's like as I'm thinking about what you said. First of all, I would say there was that was my first introduction into being non-traditional. Okay, so and I know some other things are going to come up too about losing your father. A few years earlier than that. That it's going to come up, but I'm going to say for me, it was my first time realizing how I was going to become a non-traditionalist. Okay, and that's going to be important down the line.
Mm.
The other thing is, yes, it was some interesting characters. We were all coming from different walks of life, different areas of the country. And I don't know if we want to shout out, but the Indiana won this year championship undefeated, and I feel like honestly, that's part of the uh, kind of the oversight for right now in our lives. That victory, being unstoppable. That's going to come up again too. But all right, so yeah, we had some interesting characters in the group. I think honestly, you are the only one I'm still connected to, Gayla. Yeah,
Mhm.
I know we also shared the sorority, and we had another soror that was a part of our class, our cohort. But yeah,
Mhm.
I lost touch with a lot of people, but then that's part of my evolution. That's part of my journey. Okay. So yeah, it was interesting. And I
Mhm.
always thought that not only would I be a medical doctor, but at one moment in time, including that moment, I was actually contemplating doing a dual degree, the PhD, MD. And so that was a
Mhm.
nice little set. But things happen.
Things happen, things change.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so you went in and I know we spent the year together, at least the first year
yeah,
together.
1 year.
What happened after that?
Yeah, so I actually applied to, I want to think, I forgot how many med schools, but I chose to go to the University of Cincinnati College
Okay.
of Medicine. So I went from Indiana to Cincinnati. And so I only did 1 year of the program. And I just remember getting my acceptance letter and being so excited to go to UC because this is how I ended up going. And like you say, non-traditionalist.
Hmm.
I went because everybody, when I walked in, all the students were sitting down eating lunch together. Many of them sitting
Mm,
down eating lunch together on the floor, or they had this rotunda kind of area where you had couches. And in the middle, between classes, in the middle of the day, when I got there, people were just looking happy and they didn't look
nice.
overly stressed. And that is really what made me want to go there. And as I
Mm,
got to know the students more, it just became like home. It felt like it would be home. So that's what I did. And then graduated from there. And this was when I became a non-traditionalist. I guess it was my first. I didn't go straight into residency.
okay.
I took a year off because
Hmm.
I felt like I was sort of kind of tired.
Hmm.
And that was one of the biggest hurdles I had to cross because everybody was, getting their match assignments for residency on match
Hmm.
day. And I just chose not to do it. I remember having a meeting with the dean at the time, and she was like, "Why would you not go? Why would you not do this?"
Wow.
And I was like, I just need a break. And like I said, my dad had just passed away, and
Hmm.
I didn't realize that I was being guided where I needed to go. And I was just talking to one of my favorite people in the world, who was my microbiology teacher in Tuskegee. And I was talking to her. Her name is Cheryl. God love her. And we're still friends now. And she said, "Well, I need somebody to teach my class while I go on sabbatical to get my
Mm,
doctorate." And I'm
hmm.
like, "I'm your girl." So I went back to Tuskegee for a year, my alma mater, and taught in the program that I graduated from and loved every minute of it. It was exactly what I needed. And then I went on to UC after that and took, excuse me, went on to residency after that and took that 3 years of training and kept moving. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow, I did not know. And one of the things you mentioned about the MCAT, that was one of my softer spots, tender spots, but also coming from a historically black college, that was also something that was a little bit what I was told was a hit against the credentials to go straight
Mhm.
in. And I don't know if you experienced that with Tuskegee. I coming from Hampton, I was actually told, yeah, even though you may have excelled in that setting, they did not give credit to HBCUs as
Hmm.
hopefully they do more now, but still, the United States is a very unique place. I mean, I didn't
Mhm.
get that much credibility because of being at a HBCU, and that was specifically from somebody at Georgetown University
Hmm.
when I applied for their medical school program.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just unique, but I'm loving. Okay, so good question on this. You went into Tuskegee. I mean, you went back to Tuskegee. You were
Mhm.
taking that time off, which is phenomenal because unlike me, I definitely had stepped into a non-traditional setting. And I think looking back, I wish I would have taken a break. Okay. So
Mm.
you taking that break, do you feel like it was just a year? Do you feel like you were able to regain your energy, regain your motivation, your spirit? How did that work for you? Because it's
Yeah.
not like you just stopped. You didn't take a sabbatical. It sounds like you went back to, be purposeful in your service. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't stop, but it was so relaxing and so much fun. It was
Mm,
the best thing that I could do because I don't know why. I just sometimes we're led on a path that we can't even understand. And I kept
mm,
having some friction with, especially with my mom. She didn't understand it and she had a lot of fear that I wouldn't go on to med school. She was
mm,
completely traumatized by my decision, but I knew I was making the right decision. It fit perfectly for me. That because I hadn't made a decision where I wanted to go. I didn't
mm.
know. I just knew in my heart that I needed to do something different and wanted to do something different. And it's
Okay.
so funny. When I went back to look at our college of medicine graduation
Hmm.
paper, like the actual booklet that they give you,
Hmm.
mine says traveling. Everybody else has what hospital they're going to or what
Yeah.
program, and mine says traveling. So I was just, I don't know, it was just a part of the deal to let people know that, if somebody's listening that either has a kid in med school or wants to go to med school, or somebody who even just wants to take a different path, sometimes that's what you are called to do in your soul. And that just kept going for us, didn't it? Like that didn't stop
You
there.
Well, I'm loving it because you're speaking of some things. One of the biggest one I want to acknowledge that at that time your mother was worried, right? She was fearful that
Terrified.
you wouldn't complete such a huge mission. I don't know. I do believe, I think you're similar to me that I am the first generation medical doctor in the family. And so I get that. I had those similar, and that was what paused me from taking a break is because it was that kind of generational or ancestral kind of like if you stop you're not going to complete it, you're going to get distracted, you won't go back.
Yeah.
Yes, because it was kind of that way even when I went into undergrad, so that's unique. I wanted to point that out, and I just want to ask you that you were being obedient to your spirit was saying no, I need to take a break. You did it. You went back. You did your 3 years of residency. We all have to do at least a minimum of 3 years. But then um, if you don't mind just kind of sharing like one, you made that decision and I wanted to acknowledge that. Like you're speaking to probably a woman who was very important and influential in your life, your mother,
Oh,
and yet you still said no, my spirit, my soul is saying take a break. You did it and you went back. How did the next few years look like for you? Going back into more of that traditional career um, kind of plan or alignment. How did that feel? How did that look?
yeah. I was really excited, but I don't
Hmm.
think I was ready for all of the things you have to do to multitask in residency, because it
Hmm.
was, living. I had a home to take care of. I had to deal with the elements in the snow in the wintertime, which gave me tremendous anxiety. I had already been through that in med school, but I didn't think I would go back to Ohio for training.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when I started looking for residency programs, I did the same thing. I went to a place where I knew I would be appreciated, where I could feel like myself. And so I picked the right residency, but I just wasn't ready for, I think, some of what we had to navigate. I was really good at it, but I was
Hmm.
tired. I started feeling more tired. I remember having, trying to balance my energy and what I knew was right for me, and then still trying to be obligated to going on vacation. So, like, how you get certain time off when you're
Hmm.
training? I probably should have stayed in my bed and rested during a lot of
Okay.
those times, but I want to go on vacation. I want to travel. I want to do stuff with my friends. And it just became like I just couldn't figure out how to balance all of it. But I did. And it was a little rocky at times, but we got through. And then it was, do you start working? What do you do after that? And I just
Mm.
remember I had this dream one night, and it was told to me that your mother's gonna pass away from lung cancer. Your mother's gonna have lung
Mm.
cancer. And I didn't
Wow.
think anything of it at the
Mm.
time, but I felt this urge after residency and after working there that I needed to move home. Like I was in
Mhm.
Ohio
Mhm.
and I needed to go back to Atlanta, but I couldn't
Mhm.
figure out why. And
Mhm.
I had had that vision and had that thought process about my mom, but I didn't really, think much of it. And then so I went back home, got a job, started working,
Mhm.
and still never, I don't think, quite recovered fully. So I think I went
Okay.
into my job in kind of a burnout stage, and
Mhm.
then wanted to work part time. So I did that, but I still wasn't 100%. I don't know that I ever was really 100%. I couldn't quite figure it out. And even working part time as a primary care doc, you had so much to still catch up on your off days. So it felt like
Mhm.
a full-time thing.
Mhm.
And that's when I found out I was an empath and that I
Mm.
was absorbing everybody's energy. So that's kind of how it unfolded for me. I started learning more about myself and what type of work environment would be best for me. And she ended up getting small cell lung cancer, which was
Oh,
very aggressive.
mm-hmm,
And when they found out she had it, her prognosis was less than a year at that time.
mm-hmm.
And her that premonition of your mother's gonna have lung cancer came true. And that was with about my 10th year in, I think it was, or close
Mm-hmm.
to that, something like that. And I was like, okay, I need a break. It's, it's time to take care of her. And I did that, but I kept working until she had this bad seizure. And after she had her seizure, she wasn't quite herself. So I had to leave the office. And then she died like 2 weeks after that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's
So
kind of what happened.
so you were working part-time when you moved back to Georgia. You were working part-time, but still for a hospital setting, or how did that look? Was it a group as far as your working?
Outpatient. It's
Okay.
outpatient family. Yeah, outpatient family medicine, which I loved. It felt more like internal medicine because I was taking care of all adults. I wasn't here in Georgia. All the little kiddos mostly have pediatricians, so it was mostly adult medicine.
Okay.
And so it worked out, for what it needed to work out. And looking back on things, I realized everything comes for a season.
Okay.
And when you become a physician, you think you're going to do this one thing for the rest of your life, this one way. You don't realize there's other opportunities to branch out into things and do different things. And so my family always had an entrepreneurial bug in them. We
Hmm.
always talked about business and talked about doing things and having bigger dreams, but it seems as though no one really jumped out to do that.
Okay.
Maybe they felt like they couldn't, but I don't know. I just kind of knew again it was time to do something different. So that was in 2014. And in 2016, I left.
Okay.
I put in my notice at the end of the year in March. It'll be 10 years in March, Heather.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Then I
okay,
put in my
so
notice.
that's something. So I want to kind of go back to because you're planting the seeds of where I'm going here and the entrepreneurial spirit that your family had, and you took the step. You're the one that says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually do it. I'm not going to just talk about it, hear about it. I'm going to do it. And it sounds like some of that encouragement or support of you doing that was because your mom was sick. And wow, the premonition that you had. I mean, I can imagine people who are watching, and some people are going to be like, really. But I do agree that being that in tune with yourself and the spirit world, the spirit elements, I mean, it's so many things in that. And I feel like that has led to where you may be now, what season you're in now. So I just want to just briefly talk about how it looked for you. I believe you were a caregiver for your mother. How did that look? How was it because you're only child? How did that look? Because
Yeah.
that's a lot of people are going to connect with that as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was a caregiver, and the thing it was, my mother was like my best friend, and she took
Mhm.
care of me. She gave so much to me. There was a no-brainer that I would be her caregiver and take care of her. Luckily, she was independent enough for quite a while, but I did
Okay.
move in with her. I did. Once
Mhm.
we found out she was sick, it was just almost perfect timing because where I was living, it was time for me to either re-up in my lease or
Mhm.
move home. So I
Mhm.
just went ahead and moved back home. And she didn't want me to do that either. So that was, I don't
Mhm.
want you to give up your life. And I just looked at
Mhm.
her like
Mhm.
I had already lost my dad and
Mhm.
I was in college. So I lost a lot of time with him.
Mhm.
And so I did not want that to happen. I needed to spend as much time with her as I could because I was already heartbroken that she was not going to be here for the rest of my life. But my mother had grief and she never really recovered fully from her grief. And
Mhm.
if you think about the heart chakra in this
Mhm.
area are in our lungs, they are connected to grief. So often the energy of
Mhm.
emotion causes lung issues. Energy of grief as an emotion can cause lung
Mm,
problems. So I think that not only did she have some physical reasons why she developed it, but I think a lot of her reasons for doing it was grief. And I just wanted to be there with her. And being a caregiver was no joke because you're caregiving
mm,
for others all day in the office. You're
mm,
caregiving for people that don't come into the office that need things
mm,
via email or messaging or labs that need reviewed. So you're caregiving even when you're not seeing patients. And then I was caregiving at home when I got off
yeah.
work. So yeah,
Mm.
it was quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was
And let
quite
me
a
ask you this real quick because you said unfortunately she was diagnosed with small cell
bit.
carcinoma, correct?
Mhm.
Now, was she ever a smoker for those who are out there connecting? Because you mentioned some of the about the heart sugar. So, okay, so she
Yeah,
did
she
have a
was.
history of smoking, and we just kind of want to put that out there, maybe the association with some cancers and things like that. But okay,
Yeah.
and okay, so you are in that moment. Wow, lots of transitions because, like you said, you're giving of yourself. A lot of
Mhm.
what I hear is you're giving a lot of energy of yourself. You're giving in the professional setting. We have extended in our profession, we have extended hours as medical doctors, right? You know, we don't have that nice 9 to 5, Monday through Friday kind of thing.
No
And then,
way.
like you said, you were going home and also giving in the home life not that you not as an obligation but as a out of love like I want to spend this time with my parent, this is my best friend, I want to be there in these days, you know. And I kind of want to ask you about two things in that.
Hmm.
One, when did you get time or did you have the consciousness about caring for yourself? How did that look? And then knowing that she had such a maybe prognosis of, you know, she's not going to be around long. It's like a lot of us don't necessarily prepare for that. And I wonder if there was something you did special to try to prepare. You know, we all know we're going to die one day, right? We just don't know the
Hmm.
day. And unfortunately, I know with her, you didn't know the day, but like you said, the prognosis was her time was limited. So I just
Yeah.
wondered how that landed on you.
Yeah, my mom had a little bit of a distrust of
Okay.
things. And she just didn't, she made her decision after my father had such terrible responses to chemo and radiation.
Mm,
We vowed that if something ever happened to her, she vowed that she just would go. She didn't want
okay.
chemo, she didn't want radiation because we felt like it made him sicker than it
Mm,
did. And he had colon cancer. So
mm,
he had stage 4 when he was diagnosed. And so she was his primary caregiver. And she was like, I'm not going through that. And I
mm,
always respected her decision. She knew about smoking. She was very responsible in terms of the risks, and she knew about the risks. I was
mm,
prepared my whole life. Mama smokes, mama smokes. And she didn't really want to give it up. When she tried to give it up, it was too late, but that was just part of who she was. And I
mm,
didn't necessarily judge her for that. It was her life, and that's how she chose to navigate it, which spoke to our relationship, and I just couldn't tell her what to do. So when we found out, I was there with her. I gave her the news about
mm,
her cancer. Her lung
mm,
doctor was like, he kind of told me what was going on. I was like, let me tell her. And I must say, colleague to colleague, that was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever
mm,
had, because he was like, I don't know how you're going to do this. I couldn't tell
mm,
my parent this.
mm,
I was like,
mm,
she's going to hear it better coming from me. So we
mm,
had that type of bond. And then I was like, let's just have fun. Let's enjoy the summer. Let's go places. Let's travel. Let's get the support that you need. The handicap sticker, the cane, the wheelchair, whatever I already knew where we were going to be going. She didn't want to
okay.
do it, but that's what I did. And then there was one prayer that I asked for. And that
Mm,
was, I said, God, please let her be here for my birthday, which was in
okay.
October
Mm,
of that year. And that's all I wanted. I didn't want
mm,
her to recover if that was not in her,
mm,
life to do.
mm,
It wasn't in her
mm,
soul path. But
mm,
if she were, it would be a big miracle,
mm,
um, for how sick she was. But she died on my birthday. She actually made it, But that night I looked at her and I could tell she was struggling and she
Mm,
knew she was going. I could tell.
mm,
And I was like,
mm,
"Mama, it's okay. You,
mm,
you know, you can go. I'll be okay." And she stopped breathing. She took like one more breath
mm,
and she went on.
mm.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm,
so that's how that went and I took a lot of responsibility for it.
mm,
Responsibility for her funeral. I just took ownership the way we're
mm,
trained to do it,
mm,
but I
mm,
don't think I was able to process it.
mm,
I
mm.
didn't know how to process things like that. I just went from one thing to the next.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to say as an internal medicine trained physician and in the military, I have seen those persons because I was more in the hospital, right, during my training, and that's kind of what I was trained to. So I did see a lot more people kind of in their end days, and I just want to acknowledge that. I always emphasize to people today, as what I'm up to today, is to, if you have those moments that you can speak to your loved one,
Hmm.
and say your piece, say your goodbye, be there with them, please do, because many of us don't have those chances, right? Because people are, pass away, you're taken from us, and it's very unexpected. So what an amazing experience that not only did your prayer get answered, but you were able to share with her, okay, it's okay. It's
Hmm.
okay. Wow, that is powerful. So I'm hearing you as an empath, as an intuitive, you knew, things were happening. But at the same time, again, giving of your energy, right? A lot of things going outward. And then I hear now you were dealing with cancer, not only with your mother, but with your father. So, and I'm hearing that common thread of grief, right? Because at that moment, um, where did life go for you?
Yeah.
She passes. You're not necessarily in the traditional way of practicing medicine at that time. Okay, right? You had stepped away from that. I don't know if you had stepped into your own entrepreneurial journey at that time, but how does that look?
Yeah.
You're, yeah.
I stepped out after she passed. I went back to work because I was
Okay.
very grateful for how I was treated. Everybody understood it. I didn't have any drama. My patients were looking for me. They were like, "Where's she at? What y'all do to her?"
Mm,
Like they were like
mm,
harassing the people. Is so funny. The people in communications and appointments were like, "We're so glad you're back because your patients were so spoiled. They just loved you. They didn't want to see anybody else." And that was
mm,
one of the hardest things for
mm,
me to try to let go because I knew that I was doing a great job with them, but I
mm,
just wasn't taking the best care of myself. And I
mm,
had to make that choice. So I did go back for a year. And again, it was just one of those moments of it's just time for something else. I couldn't explain it. And sometimes I'll tell people you may be making the right decision, but it won't always feel good. This didn't
mm,
feel good. It didn't feel like, yeah, I'm out of here. It wasn't anything like that, but it was just something that I felt like I needed to do. It's like my
okay.
soul was pulling me. And so I started looking for other things. And I just so happened to be looking through on the internet one day, and this program popped up called Millionaire Mind. And it
Okay.
was it was just this thing. It said we're having this event at a hotel downtown, it's free. And I was like, there's something about this that's intriguing to me. And that was my first step into personal development.
Mm,
The company at the
mm,
time was called Peak Potentials, and they were introducing you to other ways to make money, other ways to grow, personal development. And I just fell in love with it. And I met some
wow.
beautiful people, and I got introduced to MLM at that particular event
Mm,
because, and that was my new family. I found
mm,
people who were looking for people like me. They were very respectful of my journey to walk away from a full practice and
mm,
all the fixings, that you
mm,
get with
mm,
a medical career. And so I started taking care of myself, started focusing on nutrition and really leaning into that was my first real, well, actually that was my second entrepreneurial bug. I forgot.
mm.
My first entrepreneurial bug was selling jewelry.
Okay.
And I forgot about
Love
that.
it.
How could I
Okay.
ever forget my Silpata journey? I did that while I was still working and
Mm,
bought such beautiful jewelry and was
mm,
learning how to, throw parties and sell stuff. So yeah, I forgot all about that. I started, wanting to do something fun and creative for myself back then. And my
mm.
mom, once again, thought I was crazy when I did that the first time. You
Yeah.
want to sell
Yeah.
jewelry? Like, why would you do that when you're making so much money?
Yeah. You're a
Um,
medical doctor, right?
yeah,
Like,
why would you want to sell
yeah.
jewelry and have
Yeah.
jewelry parties? Like I was always this odd duckling, I think, and they just could never understand why I was pivoting so much. But yeah, and as a matter of fact, this was one of the pieces I bought and some of this jewelry. I loved it and have always loved it. So sometimes we have passions, y'all, that are outside of our
Hmm.
careers. And if you really knew
Mm.
me, this was just another piece of who I was. And yeah, so yeah, that was my second
So,
thing.
I mean, yeah, we're getting to know you. So this is amazing. Like, I love it because there's some things that I see of true overlap for
Hmm.
us. I mean, I didn't realize, I think I did maybe. We were both in Ohio for medical school and in Ohio during that time. So that's something. And then coming back somewhere else because I left and came back to Virginia after that. But
Hmm.
then, like you said, that uniqueness, I now call it, I'm a unicorn, but I get it. I was the odd one.
Yes.
What are you thinking? You're a medical doctor. What are you doing? But there was always some energy in me that wanted to do something different. So I love the jewelry. I love what you got on. I love those earrings. I'm a big
Hmm.
earring fanatic. You can't tell maybe, but I got hearts on today because
Yeah,
I felt like this is
cute.
a heart moment. So let me ask you this. It's been almost 10 years. Like you said, March will be 10 years exactly for you.
Hmm.
What have you been up to in these 10 years?
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
It's fascinating. You ask questions and doors open. And that's what happened to me because I wanted to know how could I help heal some of the ancestral things that had happened in
Mm,
my life. And I wanted to
mhm,
just move forward. I wanted to learn more. I was very intrigued by taking care of me. It was really the
yes.
first time I could learn how to take care of me, how to navigate. And I found out about life coaching. And
Mm,
a good friend of mine was life coaching too. And I'm like, hey, what is this life coaching thing you're doing? Because she was also one of the residents that I trained with. And she had left traditional medicine too. And she
mhm,
was in my
mhm,
program. And I'm like, okay, that's two of us. And, what's happening? And I learned how important the mind was. And I said,
mhm,
if we can teach people how to take responsibility, but in a way that you are learning how to think,
mhm, mhm,
and because that was my biggest concern with my patients was them not really fully understanding how they were all wired and connected and the emotional toll that we have when we have chronic
mhm,
issues.
mhm,
And I just didn't have the time. But when I said, this life coaching, I have time with people. I can talk to them. I can work with them. They really want to get better. They're very motivated.
mhm,
And it felt like something I could do from home. So I started becoming her client and she started sort of becoming mine. We started working together, but
mhm,
I started out getting coached and was like, this, I was so resistant. I had so
mhm.
much doctor ego. Oh my gosh. It was so much that I had to shed and learn how to shed. And then, long story short, we went through shaman training together
Okay.
and sort of were just neck and neck for about 4 to 5 years.
Mhm,
And that opened up a whole nother world for me too. So there was just a lot of questions. And the thing about shaman training is you go first. There is no, I'm doing this for somebody else. This is all
mm,
about you and your own transformation. I had repressed grief that needed to
mhm,
be healed. I had repressed issues with just like finances and learning how to figure out how I'm going to do this entrepreneurial life now. And just, some of the things my family struggled with. We had cancer and
mhm,
everybody passing away younger than I felt like, they could.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of stuff in my family. So there were just things. And then there was a cultural piece. It was the cultural aspects of things for African Americans
Absolutely.
and then humanity as a whole. So I just really wanted to take on some of that and figure out, okay, how can I help this? So I did that. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, my aunt calls, who's my mother's baby sister, and she has metastatic breast cancer
Mm-hmm.
and had just broken her arm from a pathologic fracture,
Mm-hmm.
and she was single. So here I was, I got to go take care of my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Mm-hmm.
the next person in the family. And I'm just like, it's on both sides. I was, a caregiver for cancer. And long story short, I took care of her and she transitioned. So I was there when she died as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
just a lot
Yeah.
that you have to navigate.
So you're in that definitely unique, I know, as far as the amount of caregiving to cancer patients. I'm just gonna kind of uh make it, I know it's your bloodline, I know it's your family, but I want people to acknowledge that you were caregiving for unfortunately terminally ill cancer patients in
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you knew it or not, maybe not with your dad, you didn't know, but ultimately
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the his soul's path that was
Mm-hmm.
happening. And um, you mentioned grief, and and there's some suppressed grief, and I want to take this moment to say, a lot of us have different things to grieve about, right?
Yeah.
Definitely loss of our family, loss of loved ones, loss of persons is absolutely something that we grieve over, but we don't necessarily take the time to do it, correct? We don't necessarily take the time to experience the processing of grief,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And I'm speaking also from personal experience on that one. So I'm curious that you had stepped into the personal development journey, you're learning a lot more about yourself, and in that some form of that was actually kind of encouraging it and maybe even really forcing, dictating that you start to look within and really do for you. So tell me this, when did you really started, I really just want to get into the junk journaling, like when did that happen for you? How did that happen for you?
Yeah.
What was the purpose of doing such an activity and the creativity? You got your beautiful, colorful flowers behind you. What brought you to that?
I think it was always a part of me.
Hmm.
Color, clothes, fashion. My mama used to say, are you going to put on every color of the rainbow today, Gayla? Like, she would just ask me, like, where is this little rainbow unicorn kid coming from? This
Yeah.
little hippie kind of kid that I didn't know I had. And it's always been there. It's just, I wasn't able to fully embrace it. I think I just
Hmm.
couldn't quite fully just focus in that way. And I just started looking on YouTube one day because I love oracle cards, and I was looking up different ones because I get inspired by color and some of the artists that make them. And then I saw the people that were junk journaling, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic because now this is something I think I can do that
Hmm.
will give me a creative outlet, but not so much art where you have to create from scratch because that sort of wigs me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a couple friends that are great artists and they just
Hmm.
have that canvas and they start drawing. Well, I never enjoyed that. But I
Hmm.
did enjoy creativity. I always enjoyed pulling from things, just like how you may dress and, create an ensemble in your
Hmm.
clothing. And I always just loved color, always. And so, yeah, so I started junk journaling when I was still at my aunt's home with her. And I wish I had done more with her and actually
Hmm.
created it. But she had all these pictures of our family that I didn't have. And she had kept different things, like she'd kept my medical school graduation stuff. She'd kept other
Hmm.
things that I didn't have access to at the time. And I wanted a way to connect to my inner little Gala self,
Hmm.
was very much a free spirit. And
Hmm.
I just like felt like a part of me was just dying, Heather. I did.
Hmm. Hmm.
I lost my joy.
Hmm.
Wasn't as happy as I thought I would have been.
Hmm.
I did have some grief. I did miss the career a little bit. because I just had thought my life was going to go a certain way. And I made the choice. I'm not a victim. I made the choice to pivot. But what you don't realize is you have to learn to process the grief of it. Even when you're up leveling from where you are up here, you go into a new level. The difference is the grief. You have to process that. And nobody could teach me how to do that because they didn't know how to do it. So this helped me process my grief. And I started wanting to share it more with people because my family and friends were like, this is awesome. You need to tell people about this.
So, Dr. Galen, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, my head is spinning because I'm thinking you got a nice event coming up that's around, your expression, your, like you said, the creativity, using creativity to express yourself and allowing that. And you tapped on something. You said you couldn't, but you didn't go into it. But I can say, as a child, I didn't necessarily get to openly express myself and easily express myself. A lot of times it was kind of suppressed. So I get the desire to want to express and how you express. And we have these societal kind of conditioning, right? That we think art or creativity has to look a certain way. Like you say, it has to be a canvas and we got to have paint brushes and, we have to have color pens, but maybe we don't, maybe
Hmm.
we don't have to limit ourselves to such a artistic or creative expression. So I don't know if you want to share what you're getting ready to come up to, but I do, and I know timing, like it's like we got to do this again. We
Yeah.
got to continue on our conversation and getting to know you, but it's like coming from Dr. Gala, the medical doctor, and
Hmm.
very similar, like traditional way per se, a little bit non-traditional as a student, but the traditional way, med school, residency, career or job per se, and then transitioning because life is happening to you. And for you, like I said, it was a lot of life of giving, caregiving. Um, Honestly, you're always been probably, it sounds like a loving uh, servant. And I'm saying servant in the way that
Hmm.
you're a medical doctor, you're a family practice medical doctor. Like it's like that's in your nature to nurture and to give and to want to care and heal people. But in those moments, you were, coming out because it's your bloodline, it's your family, and not because it's part of your job. So you dealing with that transition, I love it. Like you said, leveling up because I do believe in this spirit of our season. I do believe we both have leveled up. Others may not see it,
Yes.
but definitely, and I
Yes.
say level up, maybe not necessarily just in the financial component, but just in spirit,
Hmm.
being lighter because this stuff is heavy. Cancer is
Yes.
heavy. I unfortunately have to tell
Yes.
people, and I too have told family members, bloodline, that they had cancer, and it was more received, well received coming from me as a family member doctor than the true doctor that they were seeing, right? So
Hmm.
I get that experience as well, but it's heavy. It's a heavy thing on us. It's a heavy thing on them. Um, and loss is heavy, right? Grief it can feel really heavy. So I'm not sure if you want to share maybe what you're getting ready to get into,
Yeah.
and then we can maybe go into that, or just like I
Yeah.
feel like I need to know a little bit more too about where are you up to? What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. So, I this so I went through my own depression and mental health crisis, and it was very much it was more severe than I thought it would be. Like I usually am very happy, and I've been able to pivot the
Mm,
majority of my life and, like you say, navigate things that are hard. But I got
mm,
to a point where I was like, where am I going to get the support that these beautiful family members, because after my aunt passed, her brother passed, and I was
mm,
very close to them, and these people were under the age of 60. They were
mm,
young. They were still, right at 60 or in their 50s. And so I was like, and my dad was 48 when he
wow.
passed.
Mm,
He was
mm,
young. And so I kept
mm,
asking myself, your career has shifted, your life has shifted. There's a whole nother conversation I can have about that. But the question is, what do you want your life to look like now?
mhm, mhm,
And I can't think of anything but entrepreneurship that allows
mhm,
somebody to actually answer that question. And what emotion do you want to live in? And I remember
mhm,
laying there thinking, fun. I want
mm,
to have fun. I want to
mhm,
wake up every day and enjoy my life fully,
mhm,
and be the true essence of my name, which means source of joy,
Mhm.
and truly feel joyful.
Mhm.
And it may not be every day, all day, but that's my mission. And I pretty much heard Spirit tell me, your mission is joy. Like you
Mhm.
need to go out here and help people find joy. Show, show them, smile, laugh, wear your
Yeah.
colors, be yourself. And I was like, oh, a little bit more of the shell is coming off. And,
Mhm.
I can probably do this thing. And so when I started wanted to junk journal more. And my friend was asking me about it. I'm like, yeah, here's this book. And he was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. You should
Mhm.
do this. I'm
Mhm.
thinking, yeah, I don't know. It's just something I do for myself. I don't really know if others will really, want to do it. But what came to me was it's a vehicle. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful vehicle to process emotion, to do with my clients, because I still see one-on-one clients, which I love. Not patients, but coaching clients, and more of a general life coaching, because we talk about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so this was just another way to help with the inner child healing. And I
Mhm.
realized it was a need, and it sort of fit beautifully with the way I wanted to create and
Mhm.
feel, and bringing in how others may not have that. So it's a lot to do with the coaching and the processing of it as well. So like,
Okay.
a lot of people are like us. They're type A, they're busy,
Mhm.
they may be control freaks. They may, not have time, or feel bad when they do take time for themselves.
Mhm.
Some of them don't even know where to start with creativity, because we can be so left brain that the right brain doesn't get to open up and explore
Mhm.
itself. You don't get to explore it. So that's really what I like to do. I like to work with people who want to do the work for their family line, like you.
Mhm.
There's many of us who know we signed up for this,
Mhm.
and those are
Mhm.
usually my clients. So next month, I do a workshop. I have been doing workshops monthly for the last few months.
Mhm.
And this one is going to be about your inner child. So what I want people to do is to come and think about who you were, and where you were like between the ages of 5 and 10,
Mhm.
maybe 12, and think about, how much fun you used to have. And if you didn't, come to learn how to do that. And we're going to do some letting go work, because there's a lot of forgiveness that we need to have, and maybe some of the guilt and the grief that people go through. So we're going to process through that. And then we're going to create some entries in our junk journals. I'm going to have everybody come. You can wear your pajamas if you want. You can put your hair in pigtails if you want, and
Mhm.
just have fun and pretend like you're a kid again, and let's do some healing, and use our journals as a vehicle for that. So that's how I feel about it. And we're going to be
Mhm.
using color as part of the therapy as well.
So I know you'll give us more information on that, and definitely appreciate that. And here's the thing. So I'm excited because I'm like, well, what do I need? How do I journal and let go? And I love everything you're saying. Joy is the goal. Joy on a
Mhm.
daily basis is the
Yes.
mission and the goal. So I hear that, and I appreciate you saying it may not be every moment of that day, but definitely that is the
Mhm.
desire for the majority of the day, right? That's our
Right.
intention, is to be
Yeah.
joyful. I love that. Because so many of us may not have ever felt joy so far and
True.
may not even know what that looks like, but we can hopefully maybe inspire some people to bring that out of them, right? To
Hmm.
experience, to discover what it is for them to have joy. And I think that's important. Everybody may have their own version of it, but it is
Yeah.
possible for everybody to be joyful. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Joy is
that's exciting.
medicine. It's medicine.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that we really need. And everything I do right now is online. So I
Mhm.
want people to figure out how to have that creative space in their own homes, so that
Mhm.
they have a place to go back to and share and create in their own homes. I thought about
Mhm.
doing it in a place that was local, but I really wanted to be able to share with and work with a variety of people all over. Like I wouldn't be able to work with you and
Yeah, yeah.
and stuff. So I like the online piece, y'all. It's so
Mhm.
much
Mhm.
more fun sometimes to work online.
Hmm.
So, but the workshop's $99. I have a PayPal link. I do have a Cash App too if people need that. But yeah, it's 99 bucks. So anybody could come.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
you'll give send us a list of supplies and what we need to
We
bring with
will.
us, right? A
Yes.
lot of times it's just us showing up for that would help. It start out,
Right.
you to make the reservation and show up. So
Yes.
definitely looking forward to it. I want to say this because I know you're gonna hopefully share this with your communities and different communities and everything. And I know we're coming to a top of the hour. And I just want to say, like, is there anything I would love to do this again? Like, have another conversation.
Mhm.
Because really, this is interesting, and I hope that people who get to watch this will make comments and let us both know what is interesting, maybe a little bit more about what was intriguing and or resonated with them, so we
Mhm.
can kind of highlight some of those things because there's a lot in those 25 years that we've
Oh
known of each
yeah.
other. Wow. I mean, and I know that there's more to it because that's just 25, and like I said, I'm regaining my youth and we're kind of reaching up on a big year this year. So,
Yeah.
but it's exciting. It's a blessing, right? It is definitely a blessing to still be around. So I definitely want to share those things. And I want to ask you, is there anything that you want to kind of leave us with in this moment with the hope that we will do this again?
Yeah, we will. I think next time we're gonna ask some questions of you.
All
I'm
right.
gonna I'm gonna ask you because your journey is different, unique, and
Hmm.
being a woman and being a veteran and having
Hmm.
served in the military and all the things that you'll be doing. I think I want to ask you some questions and
Okay.
talk about your journey because we do have similar paths, but
Hmm.
also very different paths. And
Yeah.
being, a woman in leadership, no matter where you are, there's a lot of stuff that I think we can share that somebody could learn from and relate to. Because whether you're physicians or not, sometimes I think the last thing I want to leave with when people hear that you're a doctor, sometimes it's like you're not human anymore.
Mm.
You're this
Mm.
thing,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
this well successful to do thing, your identity. And
Mm.
I had to really shed a lot of that identity. I stopped
Mm.
using it for a while because I wanted to remember Gayla. I
Hmm.
wanted to remember who she was, and I think the junk journaling piece does that for me because I pull out little pictures of me before I
Mm.
became that, and like here's one of them. Like I remember this
Aw. I
day.
like it. The pigtails.
It's cool. Yeah, And I
Yes.
was so friendly and I wanted everybody to be happy and I wanted to do so much with my friends and just enjoy my life.
Mm.
And I think that's what I want to say is if you know doctors in your lives or if your friends are physicians, give them some grace. Give
Hmm.
them grace. They're humans too. And they make choices that you may not understand. The things that we've gone through, the energy it takes to care for a person and to put that person's needs above yours. It can be something that can filter into your whole life. And so if
Hmm.
you have physician friends, just love on them. Love on
Yeah.
them, be grateful for them because they're going through a battle that you may never know and they won't share it.
Hmm.
They won't
Yeah.
always share it. Give them some
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah. We are trained that way, right?
Hmm.
Well, Dr. Kayla, I appreciate this. Thank you for allowing me to come in and kind of, just ask you these many things and inquire about your life's journey so far. And we're not done. I know we're not. There's so much more to it, and it's a lot coming up, so that's good. And I look forward to it. I just look
Yeah,
forward to us, continuing this conversation.
me too. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And thank you for asking me all this stuff.
I hope it was good stuff. Like I said, very
It's
interesting to
great
me. My ask of
stuff.
anybody who gets to see this is please comment on what resonated, what you found intriguing, what you could
Yeah.
see in your life. What parallels that you could possibly see in your life, and of course, hopefully, you'll get to attend the next workshop Dr. Gilla is putting on. Like I said, I know she'll share some information with us, more detailed information with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
love it.
thank you.
All
All
right.
right. Let's see. How do I
Everybody take care.